Oh, there I am. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Good to see you guys. Well, we'll wait for the rest of the people to join us too, as usual. In the meanwhile, we could carry on a free-form conversation. We'll start talking about stuff and hopefully doing more cool things today. All right. So yeah, well, we'll talk more. Okay, after class begins. Okay. Until then, you guys should just feel free to talk. Hey, Muhammad, I was trying to, maybe I forgot to email you. I was thinking of anyway. Do you still have the link to the code that you wrote last class? I know it was done in online GDB, but did you have the share link?
I do not.
Bummer. Okay. Yeah, I was afraid that might have happened because before, when we code an online GDB, there'll be an orange button on top saying share this link. Now, if you click that orange button, what happens is that the code is preserved. Okay, I think it's preserved anyway, right? It's preserved, and they'll send out a URL, a short URL, like a bit.ly URL. And you can share that with other people. And I think the code is saved for up to 1 year. Okay, it'll be there on the server. I think it's at least a year. Because if I go back to some of the code that was saved online at a different site, I think it was cpv.sh. I know 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I find that if those links are broken, it basically says the content. But if it's less than a few months from when you posted, like basically we want the code to stick around until the end of the quarter. So anyone who codes in I'll remember. Okay, I'll remember. But if I don't, that's one way. And also the other important thing is to share that link in the forum, because there are lots of students who wouldn't have made it to class. And now the only way they could catch up is by watching the whole video. I know, like 2.5 hours or something like that, right? They have to watch it and they have to scrub through it where, through periods where we're just talking like this and get to the places where we're discussing stuff. It's a real pain, unless someone's actually bookmarked the things in the YouTube video saying, hey, go here. Here's where we started coding and things like that. So please do share these things for your classmates. Oh yeah, well, it's 8:04. We'll start at 8:10. Okay, 8:10. Until then, you guys should just feel free to talk. Just ask questions of each other. If you want me to not be in your face, I'm happy to turn the laptop around. But I don't have. Well, I don't need to really. But if you want me to, I can turn the laptop around so that you guys can just talk without me. But otherwise, just feel free to talk. Or you have a question for me too. That's fine. Okay, you can ask me if you have any questions. Yeah. All right. Just keep talking about anything. If it's not about the course, just talk about the, weather or whatever it is to keep the airwaves occupied until more people turn up and join. So just keep talking. Okay. Yeah.
If it's helpful from like last class, like all that code, like I was kind of like following along and I do have it and I could probably post it and share it. And
oh yeah. Totally.
That would be helpful. Okay. Should I post it on the Reddit? Is that?
Yeah, yes, post it on the Reddit. Yeah, post it on the Reddit saying this was the class, this was the code from last class, and we did this, one line. It'll actually help. Last quarter, some of the students, many of the students posted the link with a little bit of a description as to what the thing was, but some of the students were in a hurry and they just posted the link and say, well, and that is harder for other students, right? Because they don't know what happened in class. So I think that'll be easier for some of the students too. Thanks. Yeah, Erica. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, anyone actually, yeah. This time Erica came to our rescue, but hopefully in other classes when someone has forgotten to save online GDB or the computer crash or whatever it is, hopefully other people are also coding at the same time, like Erica did on their own IDEs, so they can take that and share it also. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything related to what we've done so far? Also, last class, I know, right? If maybe you're talking to some of your classmates in other 2A sections and they haven't even started coding yet, because I know, right? Because in CS2A, coding really, most of the instructors only start coding in week 3 or something like that. And maybe, I don't know. I've actually forgotten now. So you may think that Well, you may be told. You may be told that, hey, you guys are going too fast. You don't need to do coding until now. And you may think, oh my gosh, we're already coding. This class is not the right speed for me. No, actually, don't believe any of that. So this is, the thing is, we introduce something, and if it's confusing, we'll keep going over and over again and again, right? Until such time as it is solid in all of you guys' mind. And the idea is that, all the basic structures, like, looping and branching, it's better to introduce them on day one. Bam, like that, right? And then maybe most students don't even get it. But the thing is to keep coming back to it again and again. For the duration, until such time as you would have actually been taught that in a class, which is like week 3, we'll keep going over that again and again. I think that's better, because I think, these basic structures, you don't need a great deal of prep to get introduced to them. Right? They're all pretty straightforward, because they're all exactly what we do in everyday life. We've been doing that, without statements. We've been doing everything that we do using, words and things. We do that. So everything is just what we've been doing all our lives. It's just that we're trying to put that in the syntax of a new language like C++. That's all. It's just learning the new language. And as you know, learning a new language, it's always better not to learn it from a dictionary saying, I'm going to learn all the meanings of the words, right? And then go. You're never going to learn the language. The better thing is to just start, talking to other people, even if it's wrong, right? Even if it's wrong, that's fine. That's how it works, right? Because that's why children learn languages so fast, because they don't have a fear of being wrong, okay? The fear of being wrong is what prevents people from learning new things. And I think, all right, okay, because ultimately, if I think about it, everybody's equally intelligent. Even people that other people have told me before, it's really hard to teach something to that person. No, I'm not talking about students here, okay? They say, well, that person takes a longer time to learn things, is slower and things like that. And I also have a chance to socially mingle with people and find out. And I find, no, there's absolutely nothing lacking with any of them that I've spoken to. And all these other people saying that that person is stupid and things like that, where are they getting that from? Because they can assimilate things just as fast. And so, and I think what's probably happening, it's a hypothesis, is that somehow people have put in a fear in their heads, maybe a fear that they themselves are not aware of, saying that you can't be wrong, because being wrong is equal to being, a serious punishment in life. And so these guys are like super duper scared to even try things out and say things. But children don't have that worry, right? Because they just go out, say things completely wrong. Everything is wrong, right? Socially wrong, linguistically wrong, grammatically wrong. They don't care, because they're just out there saying, I just want to have the time of my life, right? And they'll do whatever they can. And so they'll do these things. And that is the reason why people are not speaking up. So the best thing to learn a new language, new anything, is just to be wrong, right? Who cares? And that way, we'll get a much better chance of getting to the end of 2A. I really want every one of you to get to the end of 2A, because that is the best way of getting a really, really good batch of students for 2B. Otherwise, I get some good students because, some of them would have done hard work because they wanted to do it. They're interested anyway in 2A. But a lot of people may go through some sections that are just easy and saying, come to class, attend class, just submit some paperwork and you'll get an A+ or something like that. There are a lot of students like that, strangely enough. And they end up in 2B and they have a really bad experience, okay? And they get turned off from computer science altogether just because of that. Why should you get turned off from CS, computer science? Because some person prepared you badly to look at the really good parts of computer science, right? So all we should say is really, I'm having a bad experience, but all these other people are having a good experience, right? This is if you go to Disneyland or Universal, you see all these people screaming on roller coasters and having a good time. We're out there saying, I'm never going to get up there, right? But then, some people say, why? How come those guys are not scared? How come those guys are still having a good time, right? So I'm going to just, clench my teeth and see what's going on. And they try, and then they get hooked up until they get bored of roller coasters after a while, obviously, right? But the way to try things is not to be scared away by other people, right? Scared away by other people and saying, I'm going to try it anyway, because if it's not going to kill me, it's just going to make me stronger. right? Yeah, there's many songs like that too, right? If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. But stronger meaning, stronger by itself is useless, right? Just being strong is actually useless, but stronger with a strength that improves the quality of your life. That is good, right? So when I say makes you stronger, it means it makes you stronger by making you improve your own quality of life. Saying that now I have the ability to weather bigger storms, and I actually have them happen. I don't care, right? They just come and go, and I can just look at the storm and say, hey, there was a storm in the Bay Area last week, all right? Now it's gone, it's all sunny again, right? So, but you can look forward to that, right? So it's just a storm. It's just going to come and go, and in 10 years' time, I won't even remember it. So you can think of life that way. And it basically opens up, a whole lot of possibilities that you would have mentally blocked off yourself, saying, well, those possibilities are not for me. Because if I go down there, I have, a 20% chance of losing, and I never, ever want to lose. I want to be this dude that always succeeds in everything I do in my life, right? So 20% of the opportunities that are only open to the people that will make a change in life in the whole universe, right? Well, not the whole universe, in the whole world, right? That the 5 or 10% of the opportunities only open to those people, because those are the only people who can go down that trail. Everybody else will go down the safe path and say, well, I don't want the 5%. I don't want to change the world, right? I don't want to make a difference in humanity, but I just want to live a happy life, assuming nothing bad goes on, it happens to me. So that, that's a different way of living. And that way, there's always a risk. There's always a risk that something bad could happen and ruin your life. And you have to live with that sword hanging over your life all your life, right? Because you're never, ever certain something bad is going to not happen. So, so you got to face it and say, well, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet and say, this is what it is. And I'm going to learn it so that if it happens, I know how to deal with it. And these are the courses that will actually prepare you for that. This is CS2A, all these things. The reason I say this, any professional course, right? I'm not talking about these other courses. In universities, in colleges, any educational institution, we find two kinds of courses, okay? One kind of course is a skills course, a professional course that is meant to give you a skill that can help you earn your bread and butter. Okay, so that's one kind of education, and that could be fun, and people could do that, and you can get, a lot of fulfillment. The other kind is what is called an enrichment class, right? An enrichment class is something that you would do to occupy your leisure hours, right? So leisure, I want to do, ceramics, art, right? All those, they're fun, they enrich your life. But they have different places in your life and your stages of life too. So you got to pick and choose which one to do when. I have, a reasonable hypothesis that there's lots of people out there, and in fact it's well known and it's accepted that people say, be yourself. That's the way to be happy, right? Why do you want to be someone else's person? Why do you want to do something that someone else tells you to do? Be yourself. Be yourself. Even Shakespeare said that, right? So in some play, I think Hamlet or something like that, be true to yourself, something like that, right? I don't remember right now. So be yourself, be yourself. That's what everybody says. But the thing is, I realized, and I used to say that too, right? I used to say, just be, right? Just be. Don't be someone else. Try to be yourself. And I said, and I was thinking, well, you know what? Why didn't I follow my own advice when I was a kid, right? So, or why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? I could have been myself. I didn't do that. And the reason I realized, for me anyway, is that I could not afford to be myself. Right? Many people cannot afford to be themselves until they get to a place where they're self-sufficient and they say, I don't need anything more, right? I don't need to be beholden to someone who says to me, do the stupid thing, otherwise you won't get your bread and butter tomorrow, right? So, and then you have to say, even though that is stupid, you can't speak that because, your job might be in jeopardy. So you do it, and so you can be yourself. And so many people don't have they're not rich enough to be themselves. That's what it is, right? The ultimate in wealth is just being able to be yourself, because you can have billions and billions of dollars, but you just couldn't be yourself, because whatever you say, you're going to be skewered by the press, you're going to be public, or the government, whatever it is, right? The government, we shouldn't say, because the government is there to help everybody be themselves, right, without impacting other people's happiness. But a lot of people, even if you have the whole world of wealth, you can't be yourself because you're beholden. Your image is at stake. You want to maintain an image. So those are things. And so the way to be yourself is to gain a skill. Okay, gain a skill where you say, I know what it takes to do what it, I can make my own bread and butter. Okay, you got to get to that place. And when you get to that place, you can say, well, I don't have to listen to people that say stupid things anymore. Well, you can say, you can also tell them, right? So what you tell me is not the right way to do it, right? This is the right way to do it. You go and do it that way. So you'll be in a position to say that is what being yourself is. And so you have to earn the right to be yourself. So I don't say to people now, if people say, I want to be happy, I say, be yourself, be yourself. That is like stupid advice. Everybody gives advice like that. So the way to be yourself really, I think, is to just be really, really good at something, right? Be good at something that will just have your back, right? Have your back when all these other mortal transient things can be behind your back, but they're not guaranteed to always be behind your back, right? They could disappear, they could die, they could, evaporate, the market could crash, all these things. None of them could have your back forever. So, but a skill like this will always have your back. And it's not just this, right? Any professional skill. So just give your all to it when you're young, in your 20s or, teens like this now, you guys, right? This is the best time. This is the best time to build up your skill set so that later on in life, when, you have the luxury of saying, well, you know what, I know, I have the chops, and then I don't have to listen to people asking me to do things in an inferior way. So you can say, this is inferior. I can do it better this way, right? So that's all. All right. So it looks, well, why is it nobody is here yet? It's like 8:30. Nobody's here. Well, I don't know what the hell is going on. The class strength hasn't dropped. Well, I didn't check today, but as of yesterday, we were still oversubscribed. I think we had more than 40 students in class, but people aren't showing up. So you guys have to reach out to other people in your respective channels where students network. I think it's Discord, right? So I heard someone in 2B in a 2B meeting mention Discord and sharing solutions on Discord and things like that. Okay, well, you know what? That is not something that I wanted to happen. Okay, because helping people on Discord and also sharing solutions, apparently, give me the solution to it, and someone says, I'll give it to you on Discord. Well, that defeats the whole purpose of learning, right? So I'm going to make a new rule in the syllabus, right? From now on, not only are tip sheets no use, you don't get points for tip sheets, but at the end of the quarter, I'm going to require every student to prepare a short report. Short, it doesn't just email report, a short report saying over the last 3 months, this is the list of contributions I made in the Reddit, right? Where I answered someone else's question, right? No, asking questions really doesn't matter in that report. You have to say, I answered someone's question, right? And this is the way I answered it. One sentence is enough for each, right? So 5 or 6 at least of these links need to be sent to me in a small report. And that is what is going to form the basis of your final assessment. That's final assessment. Your participation points will be determined by, also your activity and participation in class and, being here. But a large part of it is also going to be, and I'll make this known to my 2B and 2C students also. Essentially, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, is making these posts that demonstrate to me, but essentially, I am just a proxy for your future, all your colleagues and people that you're going to be working with. So I'm just a proxy. I'm going to be here and saying, is that report good enough for someone else to see in the future? And say, well, you know what? I look at that report that was part of this resume that I got yesterday, right? I got a resume and that person shared a report, and I click on that and there's like 10 links, right? And if I read those links, is that enough to invite the person over for an interview where I'm not going to do them, I'm not going to grill them technically. I just want to ask them, personality questions. Right? So that is the kind of report that you need to prepare, and that's what you're going to get points for at the end of the quarter. Okay. And also, as far as these extra credit things go, I said I will come up with some extra credit projects later in the second half of the course, but most of these will be targeted for active students who are helping each other in the forums. Okay, so because that's the way I get to know, right? When someone helps another person with a problem, I get to know, hey, that person really knows this thing. So in this project, that skill would be useful. So that would be an extra credit project for this person. So or this group can work together and things like that. So that's how I determine it. So the best way to get extra credit projects later on is to take advantage of these are also extra credit. Okay, so suppose like Omar posted the thing with Hex and so on. That was extra credit. It doesn't show up in Canvas, but it's there in my spreadsheet. Okay, I can see all these things. And obviously at the end of the year, the quarter, when you prepare a report, report, Omar is going to put that thing, that graphic thing there. It's going to be one of the links. Okay, so so it's going to be there. And but these are all counting for extra credit. So like last class, that program that we wrote, we left it in a place where we only did one name changer, right? We changed Namrata's. Where's Namrata? Yeah, we changed Namrata's games. It's the one thing with the changing vowels, but this was a scope for a lot more things you can do, right? You can add numbers, junior, the third. Well, there's so many things. You can completely change the name too. You can reverse it, right? So many things you can do to this name. So each one of those basically extra credit. So in the course of our classes over the next several weeks, when we do coding in class, if suppose we end up somewhere and say, well, that's one way of doing it, there's so many other ways, so that's extra credit. Okay, and so that is a great opportunity for you guys to say, well, I took that and I did another version of the name changer. All right, this is my code, click on online GDB and run it. Okay, so that is a great opportunity to get it. And you don't have to stop just at what I say, right? You can add more too. You can add more bells and whistles. You can add sound effects if you're able to do that. Or you can do, more sophisticated stuff in changing the name, or even not even changing the name. You can do more things too, ask more questions, get more information. All of that is up for grabs, okay? So these are the opportunities you should grab. All right, so that's enough of a spiel for today. So let's someone should pick up the screen, and I think what we'll do. All right, so if we have the code from last class, I don't know. All right, so here's what we'll do. Okay, if we have the code for last class, and if some of you have questions about the code, meaning that we want to go over the code and look at chunks of it, saying these 3 lines. Hey, Prof, can you explain it? Or Mohammed or Simon, can you explain these 3 lines to me? I'm kind of stuck, and they take, all right. So we can do that if you want for, I don't know, 5, 10 or 20 minutes or even a half hour if you want, so that program is really solid in your minds. Or we can start coding slightly, a slightly different program, another one altogether, right? So maybe we can write another program which also uses the same kinds of skills. Right? I think what did we do? We did looping and branching. Yeah, we'll do that. And also expressions. We'll try and weave some expressions into it. Calculating expressions. Looping, branching, we haven't done arrays yet. Well, maybe we'll try different kinds of looping, maybe, right? Some other kinds of looping, some other kinds of branching. It's all the same. Technically, you only need to know one kind of looping to do anything you want, right? So one kind of looping will actually take you through everything you want. All the other kinds of looping that you learn are just ways in which you can slightly simplify the code. Okay, instead of 10 lines, you can write it in 9 lines or 8 lines. Okay, using this, and maybe it looks easier to read than that loop. So so those are the kinds of things that we'll look at. But you essentially have all the bits and bolts necessary right now to do everything really. So everything you're going to learn from now on is just more and more convenience added to what you can already do. Right. Today, you have all the skills needed based on just what you've been introduced to in the last couple of weeks, to anything you can do. Any program out there, you can code using the skills that you already have. This is going to take you a very long time. And the code will be messy because we've not yet covered some of the parts where you can make your code less messy and easier to read, but you still technically you can do everything you can. Everything that anybody out there is doing traditionally computationally, you can do with the skills you have. From now on, what we'll start looking at is basically how we can now take this Boolean line program, because today you can essentially write Google or Microsoft or Facebook, all of those applications you can write using just the syntax that you have in C++. It's just going to be unwieldy, huge, messy, crazy, right? So what we'll start looking at is ways in which we can do that without having to be messy, right? And I also do it in reasonable time, right? So I'm saying I want to build this enormous program, but I want to do it in 10 days. So you can't do it using the skills you already have. So you need to know a few more things so that, this part, which will actually take me like a month to build, it's already there. I just need to pull it in, right? So you're getting familiar with the landscape, saying, well, what are the bits that I don't have to do, right? And that is the other thing that many beginners get bitten by is the issue of reinventing the wheel. So sometimes reinventing the wheel is good, right? Because you need to know how something is done. It's better to do it yourself again. Like, in 2C, people are, students are implementing the hash table, binary trees, all these things are implementing by hand. And technically, you could say, why are they doing this? It's a waste of time because it's already out there. You can just go to Java generics or C++ STL and pull in the data structures, right? So no, so sometimes it's good to do it ourselves, just to know how it's been done by the professionals out there. But sometimes what I find is that people don't know that it's already there, and they'll do it themselves. Okay, that is reinventing the wheel when they don't, just because they're not aware of what's out there. And so that's the other thing that continuing on with the series and mastering the subject will help you learn, is to just know what's out there, so that if you need something and you know how it's done, and well, I need to do this and that's going to take me like 2 weeks to do, let me do that and come back to this. Then you say, well, instead of doing it for implementing that for 2 weeks, let me do a quick Google search, right? And say, well, you know what, I need a special kind of priority queue in which the elements are popped not in ascending or descending order, but sometimes some other weird order that you, right? Who knows, right? There's billions of programmers in the world. Someone out there has done it and put it out there. And you do a Google search and say, well, I thought there's nobody in the world would have done this, but someone's already done it and put it online on Git, right? So I can just pull the code. But of course, when you have to pull code from outside, again, it is good to know. It's good to know how it's done before you use someone else's code, right? And the reason for that is because if you don't know how it's done, and you just blindly import someone's library from Stack Overflow link, right? Someone says, hey, you want to do this? Use this link, and it posts a link on Stack Overflow. And you say, oh, I want to do that. And you download it and do it without knowing how to do it yourself, and you use someone else's. It's a huge risk, okay? It's a huge risk for programmers. You can never, ever, if you incorporate software, libraries and software in your program that you don't know how it was implemented, meaning you don't have access to the source code and you don't trust the company or trust the person to have done it properly, or you don't understand the code, right? It's out there and you don't understand the code, you should not use it. Well, you can use it, but you can only use it in products that you're going to play around with your brother and sister and kids and family. Okay, you cannot release that product out in the wild, right? Why? Because you're releasing out there something out there. You're putting yourself out there with a faulty armor. That's really what it is, right? So it is like a company a country saying, well, you know what, well, we'll help you win the war, we use our tanks and we'll send you 500 tanks like that, right? And the tanks arrive and they're all built out of a styrofoam, right? And the soldiers get in the styrofoam, they're going to get blasted to bits, right? So you can't, but you have to know. You have to know how to do it yourself and say, well, I don't have the time, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to review the code. And so reviewing code that you download from GitHub and all these other places before you incorporate them into your code is a necessary first step before you go global with your product. Okay, until then, you can play around with the product. You can get your friends and family to use it and give you feedback. All good. Okay, the beta version of the product, which is limited to a social circle, that's all good. But before it goes out in the real world, production level, that code needs to be vetted. Every line needs to be understood, essentially, by someone in the company, right? Not necessarily you, but someone needs to understand every single line of because otherwise, I would never, if people critical, the key stakeholders in a product, if they don't sign off on a company, right, on a product, never release a product. Okay, and because and that's why the key stakeholders are getting paid more, right? Is you could say that oh, my manager is getting paid like 5 times as much as I am, and they're not doing anything. I'm doing all the coding, right? Why? Because the manager is your insurance company. Your manager gets paid more because if the product fails on a big line, it's their signature on the bottom line saying this product has been checked by me, right? You can release it, and if the company suffers a huge loss, okay, well, I have your back. Because if the product tanks after that, it's the manager that's going to get sacked, not you, because you're safe. And that's essentially what it is, right? So when we pay, an insurance company money for our car or life or things like that, it's essentially because we're taking a little bit of the risk and passing it on to them. And that's the cost of the risk. That is a risk assessment is really the biggest. All the statisticians being employed by the insurance companies, that's what they do, right? They actually quantify the risk and say this is how much the risk is, and this is how much the risk is worth in terms of dollars. And then they say, well, you know, attack on a little bit for profit, and then this is how much we're going to charge people. That's just, at the end of the day, that's the calculus, right? There's no magic to any of these things, and depending on how much of the risk you're willing to buy, and that is, you know, that is the premium, right? And so that is in companies too, right? So your seniors are more liable because they've taken the risk off from you, and that is why they are getting paid more, because their signature is, their ass is on the line, essentially. That's what, you know, one of my very ancient bosses used to tell me, is that, you know, that's, and also the CEO's ass is on the line too, because that the CEO is probably not a free person. If the company tanks, you know, the shareholders are going to come beating down his door, right? So everybody's on the line there. And so the people are, you know, far away from it, they have it relatively safe, and that is why they're not, you know, gambling a lot on these things. Okay. Anyway, so enough of that. So if you have any questions, about the code that we wrote last class, we'll go over that code. You know, Erica has the code. Hopefully you can share it, and then we can go over it. You know, maybe fix it if there's a few differences, if necessary. But we can go over this. And hey, you know, Prof, I didn't understand that. Erica, can you explain this? All of that is open, right? So we can do that. And if not, we will do another thing. You know, yesterday I had an idea for another kind of game. I don't know if it's going to work, but it works in my mind. Okay. Right, because the reason I had this idea, maybe this idea was actually triggered by something else, right? So now these days, for logging into systems, you have what's called MFA. Do you guys know what MFA is? Multi-factor authentication. MFA, you know, it's not part of CS2A. You don't have to remember it. So when you try and log into some critical service, right? For example, questing, right? Questing. My questing is all hosted on AWS, right? Using Amazon Cloud. So I have MFA set up so that, you know, not anyone can log into the questing server and look at things. So when you try to log in, it'll send a message to my phone, right? And on my phone, you get a 6-digit number. A random 6-digit number that has been generated here and communicated to the other server that is accepting your login by some encrypted channel. So nobody else knows this number, right? And now you have to type in these numbers, and the other end will say, hey, is that Anand's phone, right? Because that's the only phone we sent this number to, right? And then that's multi-factor authentication. That cuts down the fraud. It is still not impossible, right? Because people can still, if they have the resources, and I think, right, they can I don't know, maybe it's technically possible, right? They can reroute a phone call or a text message going to your phone to trick the cellular system to think that your phone is my phone, right? And it goes to you, and it's all possible. It's possible in the internet days, but, you know, I don't know if it's still possible with cell phone and encryption and all. But it's still possible, but it's very, very, very infinitesimally small, these chances now. It's MFA. So when I was punching in the number, maybe it was PayPal. Yeah, I think PayPal still uses a 6-digit thing, right? So I was punching it in, and what I do is, you know, I try to log in, and it says, okay, now look at your device and punch in the 6 numbers, right? And then I look at my iPad or phone, and I get the 6 numbers, and then I close it, and I have the number in my head, okay? And then I go and say, all right, 647-343, or something like that, right? I type it in, but I'm typing it in from memory. I'm not looking at it and typing it in. But then sometimes I actually get it wrong, because 647-342 or something like that, right? But I get it wrong. And so I thought, well, okay, why don't we turn this into a game? Because we can make a game that will display a number, okay? And you can have many levels in the game. Start with a 4-digit number, 5-digit number, 6-digit number, and so on, right? It'll display a number, and it'll show it on screen for exactly 3 seconds or 2 seconds. You can also keep ready. High levels, you know, you only get 1 second to look at the number. You know, beginner level, you get 3 seconds to look at the number. Okay, it'll show it on screen for 3 seconds or something like that, and after that, the number is gone. It'll disappear from screen. There is a way to make the number disappear from screen. Even if we're coding an online GDB and things like that on a plain terminal, no GUI and all, right? So we discovered that, you know, a couple of quarters ago when we were programming, we discovered that's a way. There's a way you can rewrite the same line over and over again using the /r character, and we did a lot of fun things using that. Okay, and we'll do more this quarter. Okay, And so using that, we'll do this game. Okay, and it's going to be fun. You can play this game with other people, and this game has so much scope for X credit improvement. Saying, well, you know what, I'm going to take this and turn this into a slightly, or add more levels to it. All these things, right? Or add a what do you call this? A wallet, right? So you enter the game with $10, right? And each time you miss out on not get the right answer, you lose $1, right? And you out of the game if you lost all $10. But if you get it, you get double the money back, or something like that. You can come up with these crazy, schemes, right? So that you can actually make that a continuous game that you pass around at a dinner table. On your phone. It would actually work on your phone too, right? Because it's just online GDB. Anyone, right? Or iPad, and people can play it and say, hey, I got to round number 7, where I had to remember a 13-digit number, okay, which was shown to me for 2 seconds, okay? So that is really cool, isn't it? And so it's actually a really memory jogging game, and we can do that, I think. And I think it's easily doable in one class, okay? Easily doable in one class, and we can do that. And you can have versions of the game where, it's not just numbers, throw in English letters, right? So you can have a name and things like that. All right, so that's what it is. So that's what we'll do. So please, hey, Nam, are you able to switch on your camera today? Or I think last class you had a problem with the camera, right? Or a computer. So see if you can switch on the camera, and then we can get going. So who wants to, so by the way, what do you want to do? Do you want to do a new program, or spend a few minutes first going over the code that Erica has, right? Just to make sure that everybody understands what it is, code works and all, just in case you have any questions, okay? If you have any questions, we can look at it, make sure it's all good, and then we can start. And then maybe it doesn't have to be Erica. So actually, no, maybe not Erica, because Erica, you already coded, right? No, you didn't. You didn't.
Oh, not really, not
Mohammed
yet.
was the first person. Hey, Mohammed, where's Mohammed? Yeah, you were the first person to code this quarter. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Erica, you can code today if you want, or you can save yourself for later. If you have a bit more experience, you can save yourself for later, and because we'll be coding bigger programs later. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. No matter what, everybody will have a fun time. Okay. So someone should code today, and we'll implement that game if we have time. Right. I'm pretty sure we have time. It's only 8:38. Yeah, almost like 1.5 hours left. Easily code that game in an hour and a half. Okay, so all right, so that's all. And so please feel free to let me know, right? Let me know what you want me to do. Do you want me to explain the code we wrote last class? Erica, why don't you put up the code anyway? Because some people may not remember it. And then, they could say, hey, Erica, can you scroll up and scroll down and things like that? Some people could say that. And then if they have any questions, yeah, and we can take care of that before. All right. So yeah, this is the code from last class. If you have anybody, not right. If anybody has any questions, you can ask, and either I or Erica or Mohammed. I'm pretty sure there's more people, right, who actually understand what this goes, but I'm pretty sure there's also, I'm pretty sure that not everybody understands it. But I'm also sure that many of you do understand it. And so there's a lot of people who can help, the ones who are trying to understand it, to get on the same page as us so that we can do the next one. But I'm looking at this code, and this is the first class we started coding. We already wrote 50 lines of code, and yeah. It looks overwhelming, and other sections may feel that this is too fast, but it's not too fast. If they came to our class and they did this, they would know, right? Actually, a lot of this is comments. Everybody okay? Everybody following along as Erica is scrolling down the code? Everybody following along what's going on? You can also ask Erica, I hope, to say, hey, Erica, can you scroll up to the top? I had a question about change name, right? Or I had a question about the for loop, right? Or in main, where you accept input from the user, what's going on? All those things you can get to ask, and everybody okay? So please do, all right? Or is everybody clear on what this code does? Then we can just say, all right, well, let's go on to the new code. Up to you. By the way, Erica, does this work? This is the working version that we got at the end of last class? It is?
Yeah, this is the working version.
Oh, so, cool.
In theory.
Why don't we run it? Why don't we run it? Try someone's name that has an A or an E.
I added the O too.
Oh yeah, okay, A, E, or O. All right, okay. Yeah, so Omar will also work. Omar will work because it got two A and O. All right, so why don't we try Omar? Omar.
I think it's like vowels in like the middle, right?
Before you hit return, did you do uppercase O also?
Oh, I don't think I did.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I look at it.
Yeah.
Wait, A, E, I, O, U. So yeah, lowercase Omar.
Oh.
Umar. Okay, it only changed
Nice.
one. It only changed one. Right. I'm pretty sure if you run it again,
Yeah,
maybe you will get both vowels changed. What is it?
Emer.
Emmer. Okay, cool.
I love it.
It's doing something. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure.
That's a good idea to do the capitals.
Yeah, you can put capitals in there. And in fact, what you can do is, we'll leave that as extra credit. Okay, we leave that as extra credit to make sure that you can account for capitals. The thing to keep in mind is that if you're replacing a capital letter, the replacement should also be capitals. That's all, right? That'll look nicer. Yeah, that'll look nicer. It doesn't have to be, but it'll look nicer, certainly. Because then, Omar, let's say change to Amar, right? Or A-M-E-R, A-M, right? So the A will be caps, like O. It looks like everybody's good. Yeah. Do you want me to go over and go around class and call out by name to make sure that everybody's okay? Erica's good. Namrata, you good with the code? Right? Omar's good, I think. Karthik, I can't see you, right? Your camera is like pointing at this, almost at the ceiling. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Mohammed, you good, right? You were coding last class. Hannah, you good? Yeah. All right, Simon. Are you good with this code? Do you have any questions?
Actually, for now, no.
Good. All right. Yeah, that's okay. Jay, you good too? Jay's good. Sabrina? Yes. Mingwa. All right. Justice?
Actually, not really, but
Okay, cool.
I wasn't here at the last lecture, so I was just gonna watch like the recording of the last one, so I don't like back things up because that's like on me that I wasn't here.
Yeah, all right. So we'll just really quickly explain, or someone else can explain, 2 minutes, in just 2 minutes, what this code does, and then you can look at it and see what it is. It has a general tip. I think it is important to, even if you don't get a chance to watch the recording before, immediately after, it's important to watch it before the next class. The reason for that is because if you didn't watch that, then at the end of today, you'll have two, even though you're physically present today, you'll have two lectures, two videos to watch, because today's class won't make any sense to you. And you'll say, all right, I'll watch today's video too. Yes. And so that'll keep piling on. And that is not a, generally, computationally speaking, that is not a tractable way to handle it. So yeah, please watch the videos before coming to class if possible. Right. So can someone start at main and basically just go over a high level view of what's going on so that Justice can take a look. But before we do that, let me finish off asking the other people. Yuhav, you good? Raise your hand if you are. Yeah, okay. David, Elijah, David, you have a question?
Yeah, I can get it to run in GDB, but I'm just having a little problems with VS Code.
Oh, we'll fix it. We'll fix it today. Don't worry. Okay, so we'll fix it. As you're going through this, we can make sure you can cross compare and say, hey, what's going on? Hey, Yu Yang. Good. Nam, I can't hear you and I can't see you. Okay, so you're like totally absent. And I'm basically going to think of you as absent in every class. Okay. All right. It looks like well, no, not absent. Did you have computer problems today? It was all red now. All right, okay. Okay, all right. But you got to say, at least speak up and say yes or no, okay? If your camera is off, and you got to email me saying, I don't want to have my camera on. And again, I told you, chat is not sufficient. Okay, I'm not going to look at chat because people, it's hard for people to look at chat and also follow the video at the same time. And the chat bubble just comes and goes. And if you're not looking at it the right time, you miss it. So don't use chat. You always say yes or no, or just switch on your camera and raise your hand. That's good enough too. All right. So how about for Justice and David? We'll just do a really quick overview. And so we'll start with main. We'll start with main. Hey, David and Justice, can you both look at the code? Are you able to see the code in main? And David, you can compare this code to what you have to see if if there's something that's different here between what you have and what Erica has, to see if why.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just doing like a really basic one where I set a string C out and C in, and then it's just giving me undefined references for C out. And only in VS Code, but online GDB works fine.
Oh, by the way, C out and C in are not strings. Okay, so C out and
Oh,
C in
yeah,
are not.
Yeah, I know. I'm setting a string username and then doing a prompt with C out and then trying to set my username.
Oh, I see. And it's saying C out undefined reference.
Yeah.
Okay, so chances are that you're missing using namespace std semicolon at the very top. Okay, if you say that,
I've got that in there.
you got that, and it still says C out undefined reference.
Yeah, and only in VS Code it works fine and online GDB.
How about we? Hey, Erica. Other than that, your code is pretty much the same as Erica's.
No, I did like a really basic one. It's like 5 lines.
Oh, I see. That is really strange. We can take a look at it later. Right? Or you can, obviously share that screen with one of your classmates later on and say, hey, what's going on? We'll help, or I'll help if nobody does. But basically with this main program, just as what's going on here is basically we declared a variable called username. And just like David said, we're printing a prompt with cout saying, please cout, print, enter your name. Yeah, David. Yeah, are you following along?
Yeah.
I can't see your whole face, by the way, right? Your camera is. So I can't tell if you're raising your hand or nodding and all. Okay, Justice, not David, right? Because I can see you, I can't see David. The whole.
I don't know why my camera is like super zoomed in on my ceiling.
No, yeah, it's on the ceiling. Yeah. Okay. But you can also raise your hand. Okay, raise your hand. Now I can see your face. You can, if you just raise your hand, that's good enough. If you don't want to say yes, right? So it's printing a prompt. The C in line on line 47 is essentially reading from the keyboard, and whatever it reads from the keyboard, it puts inside the variable called username. Yeah. All right. Now on line 52, we are declaring a brand new variable called modified name. It doesn't exist yet. We just say we want a brand new variable. It's string type and it's modified name. What is the value? Right? In order to find the value, I'm going to call a function that I will define, right? You guys, right? So I've defined another function up there called change my name, right? And I'm going to give it a name. It'll take that name, change it, and return it. That's going to be put inside modified name. That's what that statement says. On line 52, it says, call that function called change name and give it the username. This is parentheses, call change name, give it username in parentheses. It's going to return something to you. Take that and assign it to modified name. That's all it says. Yes? Okay, and then we print it out and we say, hi there, modified name, glad to meet you. That's all we say, right? Now let's take a look at the change name function, right? This is change name, which is going to get a name and it's going to change it and return it, right? So there it is. And you see, it's very simple here. It's all it says is I've got a name. I'm going to now take that name, assign it to some other variable that I have. So they're exactly the same. Now, so I don't have to change this guy. I can change this guy. Now, what I can do here is go over the letters in the name one after another. Okay, one after another. I go over the letters in the name, and if the letter is a vowel, I'm just going to replace that with another random vowel. That's what it does, right? So that for statement there is essentially a loop, right? It's a loop that Peter is here already. It's probably coming at this time now. Right, so it's a loop, and it goes over the loop, and in the loop, it's going to go over each one of those characters, and here, each one of those characters. There you go. All right, and if it's a vowel, oh, it's still cold. Right, and it's going to change it to a random vowel. And so get random vowel, if you look at the function right up there, right? Line 8 to 11. So how does it select a random vowel? It has a string of all the vowels, A, E, I, O, U. A is located at index 0, right? E is located at index 1. It's a string with 0th character, first character, and so on. A, E, I, O, U, 5 characters. We want to generate a random number between 0 and 5. How do we do that? We have a function called rand. There's a function called rand. Yeah, this is a function called rand. It's in the library. And if you call that function, it'll just give you a big ass random number, right? It's going to be thousands, big number. However, if we say, here's a five character string, give me the 5,000th character from here, it's obviously going to result in an error because that string only has 5 characters and you're asking for the 5,000th character. Yes. So you want to take that big number that rand gives us and then chop it down so that it is between 0 and 5 only. How do we chop it down? We divide it by 5 and take the remainder. If you divide it by 5 and take the remainder is always guaranteed to be less than 5. Yes. So that percent character up there, it's an expression that you did not get a chance to use in the Starling quest, or was it in the second quest, right? So because the second quest is about expressions and how you can put the expressions and parentheses together, but the percent operator is not there, right? The percent is also an arithmetic operator. All it does is divide and give you the remainder, right? And and this was what Adrian and Omar were trying to do in one of the first classes, just trying to get the remainder. That's why I was thinking that it's such a simple arithmetic operation. There should be a key on a calculator. It's also a very cheap operation. So I don't know why there was no key for the operation, but basically that's what it does, right? Divide that by 5 and get the remainder. And why do we say? And we're not using 5. We're actually using the length of the string of letters. That's all. String of vowels is A, E, I, O, U, and we're not saying 5, hard coding 5. We're saying how many ever letters there are. That is the length. So we say string vowels dot length. That will say 5. And so you divide by 5 and take the remainder. You get something that is less than the length. Does that make sense? Now this construct here, those 3 lines, which takes the remainder and indexes into an array or a string, it is an idiom. An idiom is something that even in natural languages like English, an idiom is something that is, you look at it and it's not straightforward. It doesn't, it doesn't look like it intuitively does what it does immediately, but and it looks like it's a roundabout way to do it, or a more mangled way, maybe more efficient, but a more mangled way. But even though it's mangled, people have used it so many times that people don't see the mangle anymore. They just see what it does. Yeah, that is an idiom. As an example, if someone said, Justice just flew to Foothill to the lecture in his car. Okay, now we're still in the 21st century. We don't have flying cars yet. Okay, but and so the very first time someone said that, people would say that's stupid. How can you fly in a car? That's wrong. That's wrong, right? This is grammatically wrong. Doesn't make sense on a whole number of levels. But eventually someone gets the idea. Hey, flew to the car, it just means he's going fast. Okay, and that clicks and sticks, right? And then it starts spreading, and then that means it's become an idiom, even though it is not an intuitive way to do it. It is just an idiom because everybody does it that way. This doesn't make sense. Now, there are a lot of idioms in programming, right? A lot of idioms. And in fact, I think that one of the, not the only, but one of the distinguishing marks of expert programmers that I have seen, okay? You can be a good programmer without knowing a lot of idioms. But I've seen that expert programmers have a lot of idioms up their sleeve. Okay, they just know how, it may not be the right, the easiest way to do it, or but they just know these idioms. And just like, if you talk to someone, you say, talking to that person or listening to the speech by that person is very nice because it's colorful, right? Because even in language, you can give a long speech with a lot of content and useful content, but it could be dry, right? But some people could say, no, that person is a good orator. They know how to speak well. And they say, and the mark of speaking well is just to speak colorfully. And how do you inject color into language, right? So that's a basic level of learning to speak a language is functional, right? It's functional, is getting jobs done. But the next level of learning to use a language is artistic, right? Because everything you do, we want to get functional first, and not just language, right? Any skill, right? Sculpture, making wooden things, table and chair. After a while, you get bored and say, well, I can do functional things. Now I want to make artistic things that, go beyond functional and elicit a different kind of response, which is deeper in pleasure, right? So, and say, I want to do artistic, beautiful things now. And so then people start adding color to language. Say, as high as a giraffe, or as tall of a giraffe. All these similes and metaphors and figures of speech. That is what adds color to a language. That is usually what separates a native speaker of a language from a secondhand learning the language secondhand. What happens is that people usually miss out on all the color of the language. I remember, because I grew up in India. And my English was perfectly fluent, functional, right? I could just speak English fluently when I first went to an English-speaking country, right? But then I had a boss who was an English, a British guy, and he used to use so many figures of speech in every time he talks, right? He said, "Oh, we need to go and rattle that person's cage and all." Right? So, is that person sitting in a cage? You gotta go and rattle it and all. No, but that is a figure of speech, and it actually contains a whole lot of emotion and color to it. And then after a while, I started looking forward to saying, what would Glenn say? What would Glenn say here, right? Because that is a much nicer way of phrasing exactly the same thing. So, and you'll start looking for this. And so, and you may, if it's not, you go back to, if English is not your native tongue, you can go back, right? Unfortunately, for second generation immigrants in many countries, even their grandparents, they don't get to see their grandparents that much, right? And if they're born off the first generation immigrants, they don't know their own language to that level. They know their own language functionally because they can speak to their grandparents and say, "Hey, Granny, come to dinner," and things like that. But they haven't spoken, been with their grandparents or their older relatives long enough to absorb the colors of the language. Okay, and the colors are in the depths. And say, this is how you speak that thing, right? Even though you say, "Come to dinner," you could say this in this way, and it's so much nicer. Right? Not just so much, polite, it's actually nicer. It sounds better. It has a more aesthetic fringe to it. All of those things, they are there in every language. But most people don't know it because, it was first generation, second generation, until such time as, they grow up and bring their own idioms into it. Okay. Anyway, enough of a digression like that. But this is the program. Are you reasonably comfortable with reading the program and figuring things out later on? You can always ask questions, by the way, right? Both David and Justice, you can read this program. Erica will share a link on the Reddit. Read the program. If there's anything about the program you don't understand, this is your chance. You can ask questions, and someone could respond to the question, and that could be part of their report later on in the quarter. They say, well, someone had a question and I explained it. Here's a link, right? So and you'll get a chance to do that too later on, obviously. So it'll be fun. That's I think the way to keep the life and the fun in the course of learning any programming language, in this case C++, right?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Yeah, sure, David, go ahead.
So from my understanding of this, for random, you only have to set the seed once for the entire program.
Yes, and it is also super duper important. Okay, it is super duper important not to set the seed more than once. Okay, especially bad. I've seen 2A. I think it was 2A, very early 2A labs, right? Where I had people would call rand inside of a loop, right? So never call, not rand, srand, right? Seeding the rand inside of a loop. That is a bad idea because in fact, it does the exact opposite of what you want it to do. Instead of seeding, instead of starting at a new point every time, it'll start at one point, and every time it enters a loop, it's going to rewind back to the same point. So you'll get the same number again and again. In fact, we can do a really quick experiment here. Actually, Erica, before you hand over to the next person to code, you want to do a very short C++ project, brand new program right here. You can just do a brand new, you can create a new GDB. Yeah, that's good enough, right? Here's all we want to do is print 10 random numbers. Okay, let's say we want to print 10 random numbers. So let's do a main, int main. And then we'll do a very simple loop in int main, open, close, and then curly brace and all, right? So we'll do a very simple loop for size t, I equals 0 to 10, and then we want to get a random number and print it. Yeah.
Let's see, 0 to wait.
Oh, let's do a loop. So
Yeah.
4, open parentheses, and then size t Yeah, space, I equals 0. Yeah, semicolon, space, I less than 10. Yeah, 10, semicolon, space, I plus plus. Yeah, okay. All right, on the next line, you're going to just say C out, indent the C out in because it belongs to the for statement. Yeah, C out, left shift, rand, open close, and then end out. Sure, left shift end out. No, left shift end out. Right. So and then semicolon, enter, 2 enters, and then return 0. And then back, indent back and return, unindent and return 0.
Yeah, outside of the loop. Or,
Yeah. And then semicolon and semicolon at the end.
Mhm.
All right. So when Erica runs this, you'll see that you get 10 different numbers printed. Yeah. I think it'll print 10 different numbers. Yeah.
yeah.
It's 10 big numbers. However, so let's say that you want to do now. If you, by the way, remember these numbers. By the way, before you do anything else, okay? Remember these numbers. It's like level 1 million of that game that we're gonna do. You get given like that. You got to remember all of that in 10 seconds. Okay. No, but just remember the first number. Okay. Everything else is going to be the same. Oh, remember the first 2 numbers. Now, if Erica runs this again, you'll get exactly the same 10 numbers. Okay. Exactly the same 10 numbers. So if you run it again.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
I won't remember.
Yeah, good idea. You run again, and then you'll see exactly the same 10 numbers. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to change glasses, okay? Because the font size is now getting too small for me. In fact, I can fit more people now. No, actually, that's all. That's all. All right. So I think. Okay. Yeah, half the screen. All right. Okay. Good. All right. So they're exactly the same, aren't they? And that's because the random number didn't get seeded differently each time, right? Didn't get seeded, right? Every time you run the program, it's starting from the same place. Now, in order to make that give you different numbers each time, all you have to do is put an srand statement inside of main, right? Inside of main, put the srand statement inside of main. No. Before the for. Oh, I see. Yeah. Cool.
Sure. Yeah, we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, but srand. Say srand, and then within parentheses, you're going to say unsigned within its own parentheses. No, within its own parentheses.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, great. And then after the unsigned, you're just going to say time. After the unsigned, no. After the closing parentheses, time open parentheses 0 L. Again, see, that's an idiom. That's a very common idiom, and because people don't usually in code, they won't explain this is what we're doing. This is basically seeding. You can put a comment there. You can put a comment on the right. Yeah, saying seeding the random number. Semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon.
Yeah, that's outside of that end.
Outside, yeah, outside. Right. Seeding the random number generator. Right. Seeding the random number generator. Now, if you run it, every time you run it, you'll get a different sequence of numbers. Right? Every time you'll get a different number, a different sequence. Okay, so it starts with 14. If you run it again, it won't start with 14, I bet. Right?
Right, yeah.
See, every time it runs differently. Now watch what happens. Right? Watch what happens if Erica takes that srand and puts it inside the for statement, for loop. Okay, it's inside the for loop. So yeah, you can actually triple click. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, good. Yeah, yeah. Right now, because there are 2 statements in the for loop, now you need braces. Yeah, you need braces for the for loop.
Oh yeah, okay. Outside of the return?
No. Before the return, hit enter, close it. Close it. Get rid of the blank line. And yeah, all right. Now, if Erica runs it, see what happens. Okay, see what happens.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the same. Yeah. Now do it again. Do it again. Okay. So why is that? Can someone explain why that happened? So what happened there was that srand, this random number is a sequence of a large number of random numbers generated and stored in a table inside of the library. Okay. And when you ask for a random number, it just gives you a random number from there and then advances a pointer to the next number. So the next time you call random, it's going to get you the next number. So it's basically reading off from the table one at a time sequentially. Now srand says, take that needle that points in the table and just shuffle it, throw it some random place. So it lands in some random place. Okay. That random place is determined by a number that you throw at it. In this case, we're throwing the system clock time. Time 0 returns system clock value, right? So it's based on this number, reshuffle that pointer somewhere else. Now, because it's inside the loop and the loop runs so fast, the clock hasn't had a chance to change the seconds value because the clock is not measuring in milliseconds. The time value is measuring in seconds, not milliseconds. But our program runs in milliseconds. It's really fast, isn't it? So within the time that it takes to execute the for loop, what are the odds that the clock would have rolled over from 1 second to the next second? Very slim, isn't it? Yeah, because everything happens so fast. But in this case, it so happened that, the very first, the clock actually did roll after the first number. It rolled from one time to the next time. That is why for the first time, the needle got pulled to a random number. The second time, the needle got pulled to another random number, but it was at the beginning of the second. So all of the other numbers were getting pulled to the same number. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically if you put in like a pause or a sleep for a second, it would work, but not for normal code.
Yes, exactly. In fact, why don't we try that? Okay. Try exactly what David said. Say sleep one. No, say pause is Windows, right? You have to say sleep one. Sleep, open parentheses 1. That's 1 second of sleep. Okay. 1 second sleep. That means that every time srand is called, it's going to get given a different random number. Because different seed. Okay. It'll give you, right. So because seconds keep increasing each time. Right. Now, if you run it now, you'll get different numbers each time. Oh, sleep. All right. So you go right to the top after hash include IOStream. After hash include IOStream, hit enter. Type hash include. I think this is it. Okay. unistd.h. Unix standard. Okay. unistd.h. Yeah, I think that should work. Okay. I think that should work. It'll run again. Yeah, there you go. So it's waiting for a second, but each time it'll print a different number. Yeah, because it's different guy.
Yeah, they're all different.
David, does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So that was a very good experiment to try, by the way. All right. So what David suggested we try, fantastic experiment. Okay, that is exactly what you should do. Yeah, that's what I would have done. Right. If someone had introduced srand to me, say, well, you know what, let's inject a one second sleep and see what happens. Okay. And those are really good things. Thank you for asking that question, David. Okay. Everybody else okay with this? Now we can start coding that other game that we talked about, and hopefully we'll only do one level of that game, and the remaining levels are for extra credit. You guys can play with it, okay? And you can insert a wallet and say, hey, you start the game with $10, okay, 10 chips, right? And then you lose this much if you lose a round, but you gain that much if you win a round. So you can do that on your own. If everybody okay with that, we will start coding. Thank you, Erica. Okay, we'll come back to you for coding another time, but I want to give a chance to someone who has never coded before. So who wants to take a stab at coding on on screen now, right? How about hey, Nam, you're not on screen, and are you able to share your screen? Right, you don't have a camera. Are you able to share your screen, Nam?
I don't think so.
You think so or you don't think so?
Wait, let me see.
Nam? I can't hear you. All right, Nam, you got to make up your mind, okay? At some point, and reach out to me so that we can find out what the issue is, and so you can participate more fully in class. How about someone else? In fact, how about David or David? In fact, you know what? Justice or David, one of you, okay? One of you, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I can.
Great. Okay. All right. How about this? Okay. Hey, and Justice, you should be ready to share your screen in a couple of classes. Okay. And we'll find something that you're interested in. It will be fun and we'll all be behind you too. Right. So there's no risk of anything. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's it. Right. So many times in previous classes, we wrote programs that didn't work. Okay. And we say, all right, that's it. We'll come back to it next class. That's what we'll do. Right. So absolutely no problem. This is basically an open hackathon. Our classes are basically open hackathons where people are just coming to try random stuff. Okay, all right. Hey, David. So you're doing it in VS Code already? That's cool. That's cool. That's great.
That's the problem I was having though when I run this.
Oh yeah. So we can also take a look at that issue that you have. Okay, so hash include IO stream using namespace standard. And what do you get now? What do you get if you run? Also collect to LD return, right? What was the error? Let me try and take a look here. Oh, there, undefined references standard CO. Oh, you can help. And was this a proper install of C++? Did you? But you have a hash include IO stream, and it didn't flag it.
Yeah, I just installed it from the extensions over here.
Yeah. Well, I think it should have. As well. The short answer is I don't know what the hell is going on here because it didn't complain. It didn't red flag your hash include IO stream, which means that the IO stream library got installed because it put the header files in place. But somehow the header file does not contain a declaration of. The header file contained a declaration of the object, the cout. So the compiler didn't complain, saying unknown variable. So it compiled. But it wasn't able to link it together. It didn't find the cout object that the header file said promised, right? The header file promised the compiler, hey, there is something called cout. Don't complain and throw in the towel. It'll be there. The linker will resolve it. So it didn't complain, but then the linker was not able to resolve it, saying, hey, the header file passes through, but I can't find this guy. And so why is that? So you got to Google this. I'm pretty sure other people have, run into this problem. Let's not do it now. Hey, no, David, don't.
I'm going to just go to online GDB.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay, great. All right. So and you can reduce the you can I think you can collapse the blue part, the less than sign in the blue part. You can click that and it'll collapse the blue. The blue left nav. The blue left nav can be collapsed.
Yeah, where's the
in the middle of the screen? You see the middle of the screen? No, on the left side. On the left side, under the Twitter, Facebook icons, you see that the less than sign in blue. The blue left.
Oh,
there you
okay,
go. Someone scribbled over it. Is it Omar?
Yeah.
Did you Omar? You just scribbled over it? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there you go. So there you go. You have a lot more room now. All right. So let's get rid of the whole thing. What is this? It's very different squirrels. I think maybe. How come he's coming back all the time? This is all right. I'll give him a small cookie this time. All right. So right, you get rid of the whole thing. You get rid of the comment also. That's all okay for now. All right, so here's what we'll do. Put a comment there saying code for today's class and put the date. And we'll say we're going to create a game called let's say MFA Heaven. This game is called MFA Heaven, right? So I don't know, you can call it, right? On the next line, you'll say the player gets presented a number on screen for a brief time, right? And must memorize and recall the number in two tries, in n tries, or whatever, right? Because that's what we got to do, and then you can embellish this code later on. Okay, all right. So let's do our main first. Okay, this time we'll do it top down. We'll do our main, and then we'll start adding more and more functions. All right, let's see. So what do we do in main? Let's generate a 4-digit number. Yeah, in main we'll do yeah, all right, let's do in main. Yeah, thank you, David. All right, so yeah, and then start the body of the, and then also put a return 0 blank lines and put return 0 at the end so that we have this template. Okay, now go to line 6, and then we'll say we'll do like, let's say const space const space size t space num underscore rounds. Okay, num underscore rounds equals, let's say 10 rounds. Okay, equals 10. This game goes for 10. You can fiddle with these later. Okay, all right, and then on the next line you can say const size t starting number size. Right, starting number size. Starting number size. No, starting underscore numbers underscore size equals 4. So we'll start with 4 digits. Okay, 4 digits. Okay, great. Now what we need to do is a blank line after that, and we'll do a for loop for size t I equals 0 all the way to num rounds. All right, 0 to num rounds, I plus plus, I less than num rounds. So size t I equals 0, I less than num rounds, I plus plus. Yeah, all right, now braces, because we'll have many statements in there. All right, okay, so here we're going to say on the first line, we're going to say generate a random number, right? Generate a random number for this round, right? So comment, put a comment saying generate our random, Yeah, all right, so on the next line, yeah. All right, so on the next line, we're going to say int num equals rand percent. Now what we want is to get that many digits. Essentially, we want to divide and take the remainder by the 10 to that power. And I don't want to call the math library 10 power. So let's see. Can we get a power of 10 without using the math library and without using loops? Because 10 to the 4, I can do it as for I equals 0 to 4, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. That's a pain. Or I could call the math library and say, give me the power 10 comma 4. That'll also give me 10,000. Is there a better way to do it? Otherwise, we'll just use power for now, right? Unless some of you can think of a better way in about 10 seconds, which I'm going to think for 10 seconds, right? Of a better way to get the power of 10 without calling the math library. How do we do that? 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. All right. So here's what we'll do. All right. So starting number size, right? We'll change the starting number size from 4 to make that 10,000, and we'll change the variable name from starting number size to starting max number. Okay, starting max number. Max, okay, starting number max. And then what I do, and again, this is stylistic and you don't have to follow it, but what I do is anytime I have a number, a numeric literal like 10,000, which is bigger than 1,000, I don't write it as 10000. I write it as 10 times 1,000, right? And the reason for that is because that 10 times 1,000 is no expense at all. The compiler will calculate it. The runtime system is not going to calculate it because a numeric constant. We'll just do it like that and put the number 10,000 there. But it is so much easier for a fellow programmer to read that program and say, hey, that's 10,000. Okay, all right, good. Now, so what we want to do is, num equals rand, and then the percent goes outside of the percent. Rand open close. Yeah, and then outside you say percent. Max. In fact, you don't call it starting max number. You just say max number. Percent max number. Yeah, number max. And also put spaces on both sides of operators. It's easier to read that way, much nicer. Yeah, there you go. Right. So now that will give us a number between 0 and 10,000. Yes or no? Good. All right. So that's a number. All right. Now, blank line after that. Blank line after that. One more comment, and we say. So one more comment, and then we say present the number to the user. Present number to the user. That's all. Yeah, your number is, and then you say colon, and then what we want to do is left shift, and then make your y capital uppercase y uppercase, and then say your number is, and then we want to do, well, just say num for now, right? Num, and no, left shift after num, left shift after num.
After num?
After. No, you want to have left shift num and then left shift after num also.
Okay,
You want to
yeah, that's what I was confused about.
Yeah, sorry.
Endel?
No, not endel, right? Space instead of endel. So you remember endel does two things. It does a carriage return and a line feed. Yes? Endel does two things, but we don't want two things. We don't want to go to the next line. We just want to go to the beginning of the line so that if we print again, we can erase that. Okay, so we're going to do /r instead of /n. Okay, really cool trick. We discovered this in a couple of classes ago, a couple of quarters ago. No, within single quotes, or double, doesn't matter, but single quotes is, /r. Okay, now what that does is that it'll print the number and then rewind the cursor back to the beginning of the same line, the exact same line. Yeah, so it's not going to the next line. Now after that, yeah, thank you. Using namespace, standard, and then a blank space after that, blank line after that, and also blank line after that, after using, all right. And inside of main, after the declarations, before the for loop, also seed the random number generator, right? Seed rand, so that we get different randoms each time.
Yeah, let me just plug in my computer real quick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so unsigned and then time, and then blank line before and after would be nicer. Okay, semicolon at the end. All right, now here's what we're going to do, right? Oh, and also let's have one more const on line 10. Let's say const size t, const size t. Let's say sleep time equals. Let's start with 5 seconds. Okay, start with 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Okay, and we're going to keep reducing it. All right. Okay. Now, and now you're going to sleep for sleep time. So you're going to say sleep time. Now, by the way, we're doing all this. If any of you are feeling that this is too much for a class number, I don't know what class number this is, right? You should let me know, right? Because I don't know. I'm just going at the speed that I think that you guys are absorbing this, okay? And I might be wrong, because after all, at the end of the day, we're on Zoom and you guys are out there. I don't know if this is okay for you guys. So you got to let me know. Yes or no? Can we keep going with this? Yes? All right, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm seeing a few. All right, good, thank you. Right, all right. So now sleep. No. After you sleep, you got to overwrite that line and make that line disappear. How do you do that? Just triple click on line 19. Right? And then was this Mac or a PC?
It's PC.
Right. So Control C. Now go to line 22 and hit Control V. All right. So indent it back in. Now you want to change. You don't want to change anything except that num part. So what you do is get rid of the num part altogether. Everything from num onwards. Get rid of everything from num onwards. Right? Yeah. Now go inside and say endl there. Endl now. Endl. Now go inside the quotes. Now just put in a lot of spaces there. Right? Put a lot of spaces. No. You want that. You want your number is. Right? Because you want that there, and then lots of spaces. Now here's what it's going to do. He's going to print the number, 5 seconds, and he's going to print the same thing again, except no number, lots of spaces. So the spaces will overwrite the number and the number will appear to disappear. Okay, it'll look like the number disappeared on our screen, even though it's a dumb TDY, right? Dumb terminal, no graphic capabilities, but still we managed to achieve an effect where we write something and then it's gone. Right? I think that should, I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try, okay? Now on the next line, you can say, see out, what do you think it was? Okay, you have, you can say, oh, how many, we should give them 2 tries? No, let's just give them 1 try, okay? For now, we'll just give them 1 try, right? What do you have? You say, what were you get? You don't have to say 1 try, right? What do you think it was? Well, oh yeah, well, what is your guess? What is your guess? No, you can say, what is your guess, right? What is your guess? What is your guess? And then you don't have to say 1 try and all, right? Because you can change that later on. Just get rid of all that. What is your guess? Question mark, and then a space. Right? Okay, now you can see into guess, right? So we need another variable up there saying, it's not a const this time. You're going to say int guess, right? Yeah, you can do that here inside int guess. Right? No, semicolon right there. And then enter. You separate the decorations. Yeah. Now you can say, what is your guess? Now you can do cin into guess. Yeah. All right. Now you're going to say, if guess equals num. If guess equals num. Yeah. All right. So, and then outside you say curly brace, enter. And you're going to say see out, hooray, you got that right, on to the next round. Okay, hooray, on to the next round. You say hooray, on to the next round. Good job, on to the next round. Yeah. All right. Yeah, great. Okay. Now you want an endl. You don't need a colon there. You can just say /n, or you can put an endl. /n. Yeah, and you can get rid of the space because the space after new lines is not visible, right? So it's just a waste of space in the program, right? And now because you're going to the next round, your number is going to get bigger. So what you want to do is say, oh, we have number is a const. Get rid of the const. Okay, it's not a const, right? And even sleep time, they're not consts anymore. Just go up there and say up decoration part. Get rid of the const part, const. Yeah, and then also the previous one. The first one could stay, right? Num rounds could stay as const. In fact, here's something that you can keep in mind. You can also have multiple decorations on the same line. This is how you do it, right? I'll show you how to do it so that you know how to do it. So go back to the const place where you had the, right? Now go to the 10 times 10,000 semicolon, get rid of the semicolon, and put a comma there instead, space. Now yank everything from the next line to that line. Yeah, and get rid of the size t now. Right, that says I have 2 size t variables, and the first one is a sleep number max is 10,000. The next one is 1. Fine. So that's basically what it is, right? So I just, all right. So now let's go. We slept, and it's all right. So all right. Now you want to say number max times equals 10, right? Number max times equals 10. 10, right? The spaces around the times equals. All right. Now, do you want to change the sleep time too? Well, I'll leave that for extra credit. All right. You can play with the sleep time and all later on. Leave the sleep time as, so they always get how many seconds was it? 5 seconds. Yes. Everybody gets 5 seconds. Actually, make it 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Yeah, 5. Everybody can easily remember that, right? 2 seconds. All right. Okay. So now 2 seconds, and then. All right. Good. Number max. So the next number you get is going to be a bigger number. Okay, and then it keeps going through. Right, that's it. Right, and then you can put a comment there. Yeah, right there where you had your there. No, after yeah, there. That's fine. Okay, put a comment there saying here you may wish to modify the user's wallet. Right here you may wish to modify the user's wallet. Actually, technically speaking, that's not where you should do that. You should modify the user's wallet as soon as they enter the round itself, because entering the round costs money. Because you go to the races or something like that. I've never been to the races. You pay money to participate, and then you win or something like that. I don't know. Right? So, yeah, right. By the cost of each round. by the cost of entering the run. Yeah, by run cost. Okay, now that's basically it. Okay, all right, so for the if statement, you need an else also. And by the way, because the if is a new paragraph altogether, put a blank line before that. Put a blank line before it. And then there you got a blank line inside the if then part. You can get rid of that, right? And then you can, so the else part, you can say, see out, that wasn't it, sorry, right? No, left shift. Oh, on the other one too, it's left shift, not right shift. Right? You got no, try another number. Try another number. No, try another number because we're not giving them another guess. We don't have an inner two loops inside of each other. So it's going to take another number and try from the beginning. Yeah. Try another number. End L after that. End L. And I think that should do it. I think that is basically it. Do you have return 0 and all at the end? Yeah, okay. Now get rid of the blank line inside the I think, yeah, after the for, after the if, yeah, there you go. Get rid of that. And then I think there's a guess and it gets the guess and it compares it. If it's right, it does that and so on. Okay. And if it's not, it says no and it goes back and it gets a new number altogether. Okay. All right. I think that should work. Okay. But before we run it, I'd like everybody to just run it in your minds. Okay. Just run it in your head and see if it works. And if it doesn't work in your head, maybe there's a bug. Okay. So you can say, hey, you know, I think it won't work because there's something wrong there. So before we run it, that is always a good practice. No matter how experienced we are, it's always good practice before you actually hit the run button or try it out to just run it in our heads and say, well, you know, it works because every time we run a program, it should not ever be with a view to saying, I want to see what the program outputs, right? So inexperienced programmers and newbies will run programs to say, what happens when I run it, right? But experienced programmers and professionals, when they run programs, won't be running it saying, I want to know what happens when it run. When they run a program, they will be thinking, is it going to do what I think it's going to do? So, subtle difference. Okay, there's a subtle difference, but it is the defining difference between professionals and newbies, right? When we're new, we always run programs saying, I want to know what happens when we run it. Professionals will say, when I run it, is it going to do what I think it's going to do? That's all. Okay. And so run it in your head. It's just practice. It's just practice. And when you write bigger programs later on, this will actually be hugely helpful. Okay. Running it in your head. Is everybody okay? If everybody's okay, we'll just run it now. We'll play the game. We'll play the game. And after this, what time is it now? It's 9:33. Right? How about after this game? I give you about 10 or 15 minutes, right? After this, unless you guys have any changes that you want to propose and try, I'm happy to do it. But after this, for about 15 or 20 minutes, you guys can just pounce on this program, and every one of you can do your own little version, slightly different maybe. And then in the last 15 or 10 minutes of this class, you could say, well, you know what, Hannah could say, well, okay, hey guys, can we look at my program? Okay. And then and they would put their program up and we'd try it. And then maybe Jay, everybody can have a chance to try out there, and they could all be slightly different, okay, with your own little tweaks, your flavor. Okay. So you can
what was the
sleep, UNISTD dot H, and then dot H, and then put a blank line after the includes. The namespace is separated. Okay, everything is looking good so far. Great. Hey, your number is nothing. No, something is wrong here. Okay. Oh, actually, maybe it didn't sleep. Did we have a sleep? We have a sleep time. No, something is wrong here. Why did it erase it immediately after? Comment out the in your main after the sleep you have another cout, right? Yeah, after the sleep statement, line 27 or something. Just comment out that one. Just comment out the line 28, not that one. Oh, you have to stop the program and then stop the program. Comment out line 28.
28. Okay.
Yeah. Now run it. We should see the number at the very least. Yes. Oh yeah, of course we will see the number. You're not printing the number. Your number is. How come we have? Oh no. That's Oh, I'm sorry. Not what did you guess? I'm sorry. No. That was not the statement to comment out. The statement to comment out is 26. 26. Line 26 is what you need to comment out. Yeah. Now we should at least see the number, right? Nothing. Oh, of course. Yes. All right. This goes back to what I said the previous class, and you might have forgotten. I certainly forgot. So obviously, I'm pretty sure you would have forgotten. So when you send things to the console, all right, it is all buffered. Cout is buffered output, right? It's buffered output. It doesn't go to the console immediately. It's just in the buffer, right? Saying, well, I'll send it out to the screen when I think the user is ready to read it, right? When does the system make this heuristic decision, saying that it's ready to send to the screen? When it sees an endl or a /n, or it receives a flush call, right? Flush means it'll go to the screen, something else, right? But we're not flushing. And a /r is not really an end of line character. /r just says go to the beginning of the same line, not to the next line, right? So it's not flushing, it's sitting in the buffer. So in order to make it flush, no. If you do endl, we won't get the disappearing effect. We want a different disappearing effect. So all we need to do here is on the next line, you just say, on the next line, you say cout.flush, okay? And we'll put a comment on that line, right? Flush, open, close, right? Yeah, open and semicolon at the end. And let's put a comment on the same line, saying flush, explicit flush needed because the previous line, because pre line, right? We'll just keep words short so that we don't run past the 80 column thing. Because you can also say cuz, right? Line 20, line 23 did not end in a /n or a has no endl or /n, which would trigger flushing. Does that make sense? Okay, now if you run it, we'll see the number for sure. All right, so that's good. All right, now oh, it also disappeared. Why is
Doing it this wrong on purpose.
No, it's not. Is it 2 seconds? Is it staying on the screen for 2 seconds?
Yeah,
it is.
It's going. Okay. So if I.
All right, so let's do one more thing.
I gave it no number.
One more thing. Is kill it. One more thing. We'll do. So you see that 718 printed as just 3 digits, not 4 digits. We want to be able to print it as 4 digits with the leading zeros. Now there is a way in which you can zero fill a number using IO manipulation in C++. Now I keep forgetting that all the time. So open another tab, and just Google for what should we Google for? A print with leading zeros, print integer with C++, say C++ first, cout using, don't say print, cout using leading zeros for a number, using leading zeros. Okay, we'll see some examples here. Yeah, so click that. I think must be, there you go.
That
Yeah, you just do that. And then also you need set width 4 or set width num or whatever, we'll find out, right? So we need set fill 0. So send that set fill 0 before you send the number. Set fill 0.
Should go on this int num.
No, on the cout line. Your number is after hey, hang on. Yeah, there you go. There. And then left shift. I think it was set width, and I think now you can't say 4 because that number keeps changing. What is the big thing there? 10,000
number max.
Yeah. Number max divided by 10. What is 10,000 divided by 10? That's 4. Yeah. Number max divided by 10. Yeah, I think that should do it. Right. Okay. And then you need to left shift the num. Right. Space on this side also. This side of the yeah. All right. So I think that will do it. Now, when you run this, increase the size of the console, reduce the size of the code so that it's all up here, even more, and you can run it, and then we should be able to play it now, and we'll see. Oh, setful was not displayed. Oh, all right, so you need to go to the code, up to the code, includes up all the way to the include. I think you need to include one more after IOStream, hash include after IOStream. So yeah, you can say no, but keep the C++ and Unix things separate. So after IOStream, the first include file, hit enter and say hash include. I think this is it. Okay, otherwise we'll have to go back to Stack Overflow. IO manip for manipulation, right? I think this is it. Enter one more time. So we'll keep the your Unix thing separate. Okay. No match for less than. Okay, let's take a look at that. I think maybe it needs to be. Can you go back to that Stack Overflow? Oh, it's a zero character, right? It's not a number. It's a zero character. Right. So what David is doing there is the zero number is different from the zero character. The zero character is like A, B, or C. Oh, GG, something's gone, something weird. Max divide by 10. Why? No, wait a sec. Number max divide by 10. Oh, of course, it's number max divide by 10. We want log of that, we want the log of that, not the divide by 10. So we want log to the base 10. How do we make the 10,000 4 without using log? Can someone think of a way to do that? Otherwise, Erica, you got an idea? No? All right, so here's what we'll do it. This is going to be slightly less aesthetically pleasing, but after you figure out a way to do it nicer without using log and calling the math library is a pain, okay? It's super duper expensive, especially for, I've seen people saying, I want to square a number to take the product of A times A, and they say, call pow A comma 2. It's the worst possible thing a programmer could do, right? Because pow is an expensive function. Because pow calls Taylor series expansion. Taylor series you done calculus, right? You can have an infinite expansion, and pow is basically calculating that infinite expansion, and it's a very expensive function to invoke. So when you have a square or a cube, you should basically do x times x times x or x times x. That is a whole lot cheaper. All right. So why? So by the way, here's what we'll do. All right. So now where you have size t number max, line 14, hit line 14, go to line 14. Yeah, go to line 14. And then on the same line, you say after number max 10,000, after 10,000, comma, you say number of digits, right? Num digits equals 4, comma, num digits equals 4. Yeah, equals 4. Right now, further down, where we use, you just say 4 there, and then and there was a place where we say multiply by 10, right? Where we multiply by 10. Right, there you go. Now all we need to do is say no, multiply by 10 there. On the next line, you say num digits plus plus. So we're just saying, right now the number has gone to 10,000. The number of digits has also increased. Now this is really messy, isn't it? This is messy, and in software engineering terms, that is bad coupling, okay? Because you're using two dependent variables which could actually be calculated from each other. Yes, because one of them could be calculated by the other. So 10,000 should give you 4 because log to the base 10 of 10,000 is 4, right? Or if you only had 4, you should be able to calculate 10,000 because 10 to the 4 is 10,000. So there are two dependent variables, but we're using we're using different variables where we could have done away with one, because this introduces errors. Potential errors.
Yeah, can you take the length of a number? Or does it have to be? Can you take the length of a number, or does it only work on strings?
No, unfortunately, yeah, good question. If it's a string, you can take the length of a string, but numbers you can't take the length of.
So basically, we would just have to typecast it and then take the length.
You can't typecast it. You can't typecast a number to a string. Okay, you can convert a number to a string. Converting is different from typecasting. Yes. Where's Ryan? Ryan asked a question about this in the forums, actually, in subreddit. Ryan Sherby, right? So converting a number is different from typecasting it. So typecasting says, I'm not going to change the contents, right? I'm just going to make you believe that there's something else there. So I have a number, but don't think it's a number. Interpret the number as a string. That can give you completely unpredictable and weird results. Yes? Because
why
it is
would-
a number.
Why would it give you unpredictable? It's just saying pretend it's a string.
Right. So if you so let's say I have the string David, right, up in my memory. DAVID stored somewhere in memory. Some byte location contains DAVID. Yeah. Yes.
Mhm.
Now I have a string variable called name that's pointing to that location in memory that contains David. Now, if I tell my program that location does not contain David, but it actually contains a number, right? It doesn't change the contents of the memory. That location still contains DAVID. But I'm saying that is not a number. That is not a string. It's a number. Now it's going to try and interpret DAV, the ASCII values DAV as numbers.
Right. So it would probably give you their
Jump.
ASCII numbers.
No, it won't give the ASCII number. In this case, it's an integer, right? It's an integer, isn't it? An integer is made up of 4 bytes. An integer in C++ typically is 4 bytes. So it'll take DAVI, there's the first four letters, the first 4 characters, the first 4 bytes of your string, DAVI. Those will be the first 4, those will be the 4 bytes of the number.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's a mess. It's a mess, isn't it? Because we don't know what it is. And it'll totally screw up the program. And so this way, we're doing it the bad way, okay? But this should work. This should work, right? Now, if you increase the size of the console and run it, I think we should get we should see it. All right, okay. Hey, actually, the effect works, right? The number was shown and it disappeared. That's really cool, really cool. All right, okay, 2684. Okay. All right. I got it. Anybody else got it? All right, go for it.
506. Oh,
Right, okay. You know,
I didn't even
what we
see
should
this
have done-
number.
well, you know, one
was
thing
so
you can do
fast.
in your own program is when they get it wrong, you can say, you got it wrong, but this was the actual number. Because you never know what the actual number was. You can do that too. All right. Anyway, that's enough. I think this is, reasonable. It's not like super duper adrenaline pumping, exciting game, but it's a reasonably fun game for, second class. Yes. All right. So do you guys want to play around with this for about a half hour or something like that, or 15 minutes? You can do your own versions. You can also talk to each other, right? And say, hey, I'm trying to do this. Anyone have any tips? All up for grabs. Everything, open game here. Do you guys want to do that now for 15 or 20 minutes, or do you want to do, if you want me to do something more, right? We can try inserting a wallet. I'm pretty sure you guys can do it too, right? You can try inserting a wallet, you can try inserting more features, or we can try and change the loop to say, I'm not going to use a for loop, I use a while loop, okay? Something like that. So many different ways we can do, take this thing. And even what we've done already, you could try and say, I'm going to try and do this differently. Maybe I've come up with a way in which I can get the number of digits without having to have 2 variables. All of that is up to you, right? So do you want to do this yourself, or do you want me to help, to continue to code with you? Otherwise, I'm happy to turn the laptop around for about 15 minutes. I'm sure you called me, right? I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. Oh, here we're at 9:48, right? So that basically it's after you're done, it's probably the end of the class, right? But we've done it now, right? How about 10 minutes for the remainder of this class? You can call me before you go if you want. Do you guys want to play around with this code for about 10 minutes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. At least Erica. Nobody else? Only Erica? All right. Namrata, Omar, Sabrina. Yes. All right. Good. You're young. All right. Hey, I'm so excited. So many guys want to take a cut at it. Okay. So fantastic. All right. So take it away, and hopefully we'll have some really, really interesting and cool and exciting links posted on the subreddit, so I can just go click right later on today when I'm feeling bored. I'm going to play some of my student games, okay? Because they do some really quick ass stuff, because out there all boring. My students do some cool stuff. Okay, so I can go and play these games later on today. All right. Thank you all so much. Call me if you get stuck. But otherwise, was this useful? Was there any new things that you picked up today? Right. So I think that's important, right? If not, you should just let me know so we can just adjust the pace as we go along. So next class, we technically up to week. This is week 2. Week 3. We tend to do looping. We're already doing looping. So in week 3, what we can do is do more of this, right? We do more of this, different kinds of looping, looping together with more different kinds of branching constructs. And I'll try and see if this over the maybe. Oh, this is Thursday. This is today's Tuesday. So by Thursday, no, today's Thursday. I keep losing track of time. And so over the weekend, maybe I'll try and see if I can think of any other interesting like this, right? Game things that we can do in class. All right, next week. Otherwise, I think it's been fun today for me anyway. Okay, I hope it was fun for you too. All right, so thank you all so much for playing along, especially David. Okay, where's David? Yeah, there you are. Okay, David, thank you all. Thank you so much for typing and staying ahead and doing some extra stuff before I typing ahead and all. So thanks. All right. Great seeing you all today, and I look forward to seeing your smiling faces again next week. Have a great weekend. Keep coding and keep posting stuff on the Reddit, okay? Because this is your chance. Start building a portfolio of things that you can basically showcase later on, right? All right. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. Question for me or classmates? Classmates, I think. Okay. Just let me know when the last person leaves, okay? So I can stop the recording. Hey, is everybody here? I don't hear anything.
Yeah, we're here. Professor, I think I have a question.
All right. If you have a class, feel free to take off because it's past the end of class. But those who are remaining, you can when you code, you also try and be vocal, saying, "Hey, I'm doing this song," so that other people can also follow along.
So if you're trying to do 2 conditions in a for loop, can you just use a double ampersand?
Yeah, I think the double ampersand and then or is like the 2 straight, the 2 straight lines.
I have a random question. I guess after like what's like the bad thing, I guess, of like putting endl at the end of like a bunch of statements? Would that just be inefficient? Or do you like, is it a good thing to just let the program buffer and output? Or can I just put endl at the end of most things?
I think it's like you can put it when you have a lot of statements, and it's another way of having it flush. But you can also just do like the C out flush at the next line. It does the same thing. I'm not sure if like what the difference is like in terms of like efficiency, but
Yeah.
I think they just do the same thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I was just kind of thinking like, well, why don't I, why don't I just put endl at the end of everything? And like, I know it's sending everything right away, but it's like, I feel like there's something on the back end of like, maybe it's not
Yeah.
efficient later with bigger things. Thoughts?
I just searched it up and it says that the endl adds an end of line character to the output before flushing, and the flush only flushes. So I guess it's just like it's sort of like how if you add the new line, it's like that's the character and it's gonna automatically do it. So it's like it's like the same as adding a new line, except you just add endl and then flush wouldn't have that character at the end, I guess.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Namrata.
Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, expect a high of 53 degrees.
Oh, Erica, are you the only one left?
Sorry, I was gonna go log off. All right.
Oh, yeah. Because I just remembered. You sent an email to me saying that you wanted an office hour.
Oh yeah, I did.
All right, okay. Good. I'm glad you're still here. So, what's up?
Thanks. So I was kind of confused. So like, I overthink a lot, and I know this about myself. And so I wanted some help because I think I'm calling. I was on like, my limerick isn't working. And I think it's something dumb, and like I think I'm just not calling it correctly, but I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. But I didn't know how to ask it in the forums without it sounding like.
All right, I can show you how to ask in the forums. How about that?
Okay,
Yeah?
yeah, because like I think
so-
I'm just not calling it correctly because I have it up and like I tested the inside and like the inside works. Like I can.
Do you have a function? Do you have a function called eval limerick?
Huh?
Do
Yes.
you have to write a function called eval limerick? Yes.
Yes.
You have the function?
Yeah, I can show you what I have. I just don't think I'm calling it
No,
correctly.
don't show me the code and all.
Okay.
And you
Um,
shouldn't show the code to anyone, even on the
yeah.
Reddit.
No, I
Yeah.
have it.
So you have this function called eval limerick.
Yeah, I have the function eval limerick, and the result of I have it like pop out the correct result. And I think like, but when I call it, right, because eval limerick, it's not like when we made eval limerick, it has like it doesn't in gross in score because we have those values like in the function. I think it's like when I call it, since we're guessing what eval like what a dozen gross and score is, does that mean the user can input whatever number?
No. You just write the function, and then it is, I'm guessing, right? I'm going to guess what the numbers are by using your function, by giving it lots and lots of values and seeing which one of them evaluates to 81.
Okay, so
So what you need is just that function. So you don't have your main or anything. You're not going to assign values to dozen, gross, and score. You just need that function called eval limerick. That's the only thing that should be in that file.
oh. Okay, I think I got confused because like with your code, I was trying to figure out what it did, and I was like, wait, like, but if all that's happening in the main, like, what should my
Yeah. I'll use my own main. I'll use my own main on the questing side. You don't have to supply a main. You just have to write the functions. Eval limerick, draw cat, and things like. No, draw cat. Maybe you have to do a main.
I have the cat. My cat draws. And my other one also is fine. It's just when I was running limerick, like I just called eval limerick, and I in the parentheses I would put in like
You can't run it, yeah. So with limerick, students cannot run that on their computer because you don't have a main, right? You only have the function. So if you want to run it on the computer, you got to write your own main, and that main has to assign values to dozen, gross, and score before calling eval limerick.
Oh.
Well, maybe it's not 100% clear now.
Yeah.
But
well,
right, because what I do in main, right? So let's say you have written this function called eval limerick, yeah, and you've submitted it. Now I've got a file from you that contains this function, but I don't have a program that can call your function and run it. There's nothing to call it.
But in your example code, like not example, code, like the skeleton, you have a main. So
yes.
But
that's not in the starter code. It's not in the starter code. I don't think it's in the starter code. Is it in the starter code?
A main?
Yeah, I don't think the starter code has main. I need to take a look here. Hang on. There's the this is J, isn't it? J.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, like I know I was probably overthinking it in some way, so I was like,
no, that's fine. Limerick. Okay, there you go. Oh, I see. I put it in the starter code, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe that was my bad, and nobody pointed this out to me for so many quarters. The starter code is not supposed to have main. Hang on. You don't have to know the details. From the batch file. Oh, actually, you know what? What do I have? Well, let me see what I say. I'm expecting here. Let me see what I say. Right. So as you can see, you don't have to make major modifications. Oh, I see. Yeah. All right. So you do have to write a main. Yes, you're right, Erica. Right. Except you don't have to make anything. You don't have to make any changes to main, except you have to call your eval limerick function using the 3 values in main. In main, you see that in main you have
the dozen gross and score, but it's argv1, argv2, argv3.
Yeah. No. It's you see in main, I do have dozen, gross, and score, and I actually do argv1, 2, 3. I will take care of all of that. You don't have to worry about main. The only thing you have to do is under the red to-do lines, you have to say eval limerick dozen, gross, score. That's all.
Oh.
Essentially,
okay.
You are invoking all you have to do is invoke your function that you have just written. Just like, change name, that program that we wrote in class.
Oh, yeah.
We call change name, right? In main, we say change name. And it goes, changes the name and comes back. Yes?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what this main is supposed to do.
Oh, I thought we were somehow able to like throw ints into eval limerick and it should pop out. I don't know, like the correct and incorrect.
No. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of getting the ints, putting them into dozen, gross, and score, and then calling Erica's eval limerick to say, hey, Erica's eval limerick, here are my guessed values for dozen, gross, and score. Calculate the expression, tell me what it is.
Oh, okay. Is it okay if I
It
like,
doesn't make
take some-
does it make sense? Complete sense? Yeah. Yeah.
It does. I think it does, but like if I can make a modification right now, like on my own, and see if like what I'm thinking does is actually, if we're on the right page, would that be okay? If I'm like,
No, don't share your code. Okay.
oh, I'm not going to share. I'm not going to share. I'm just going to make modifications on my end, see if it works. And I'm like, oh, I got what you said. Or if that.
Yeah, sure. So tell me what you're going to do, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. So before, when I was calling it, I put in like random numbers, and I.
No. Don't put random numbers. You got to put in the 3 values that I got from ArcVs.
Right. Yeah. So then I can do that just by by putting in dozen, gross, and score, that way that it's set up. Okay. I just deleted the numbers and put dozen, gross, and score, and hopefully.
And I think that should do it.
Okay. So I guess like what I was kind of confused about is like when I run it, it has like that. Like I was confused about what your code does, I guess, because like
Yes.
it says that there's an error,
You can't run it on your own. So if you do run it on your own, by the way, did you compile it on your own and then run it? Do you have a compiler?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. If you do compile it on your own, it will produce an executable file. What is that executable file called? Main.exe or something like that, some .exe file or some executable file. How do you run it?
So I do have I have the limerick.cpp file, and I guess is it supposed to compile its own exe file? I'm confused.
Yeah. Are you on a Windows machine or a Mac machine?
I'm a Mac.
All right. So it's not going to do a .exe, but when you compile it, it'll just produce a file called, how are you compiling it? Are you compiling it with VS Code or something like that?
Yeah, I was like fiddling
Xcode?
around, and I found Sea Lion because I was like, oh, why not?
Yeah, that's fine. Sea Lion. Now it will compile it and produce an executable file. That file is probably called limerick. I don't know. What is it called?
Oh, is it? It does that? I didn't know it was doing that.
Yeah, it's an executable file. It'll produce that because if you compile it, it'll produce an executable machine language file. Now that is what you got to run.
Oh, okay.
And when you run that, we will say, it won't run properly because it is, when you run it, it is looking for 3 more numbers on the same command line. So you got to say limerick space 12 space 20 space 144 or something like that. I don't know, right? You got to supply all 3 numbers on the same command line and then hit enter. Then it'll say, oh, I got argv of 1, that's 12. Argv of 2 is this, and so on. No, I got these 3 variables. I've also got Erica's function. So I call eval limerick. So I'll call eval limerick, invoke it, and give it these 3 things, and say, go do your job and tell me what the result is. That's what it does, right? So you got to. So when you call it from the command line, you got to run the binary, that is the compiled code, and also provide the 3 arguments. Otherwise, it won't do it. Otherwise, the easier thing for these early requests is don't compile it on your own. Just submit it to the questing site, and I'll make sure I compile it. I call it with all the parameters that I think will give me sensible results, and I'll find out if the function is coded correctly or not.
Okay, so for limerick, like if I don't compile it myself, then like assuming that because I played with I played with what my function is supposed to do, and it does output the right thing, and then I'll just call it with dozen gross and score, and then you will compile it on.
I'll take care of it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
You shouldn't change anything else. You shouldn't change anything else in your main. Okay.
Could I also leave the comments in there, or is that okay or not okay?
Oh yeah. What do you mean leave the comments in there?
Just kind of some of the comments you had in the skeleton code that I think is useful to look back on.
Oh, totally. How you format the code is absolutely no concern to questing, right? You can even for questing you can even submit obfuscated code. Do you know what obfuscated code is?
Mm-mm.
Obfuscated code is when you take a program which is all nice and readable by humans, and then just mush it up completely, remove all the spaces, remove all comments,
Oh.
change all the variable names so that humans can't read it anymore, but it's still a functional program. Exactly the same program. It's just mushed up and formatted badly. That's called obfuscated because it's hard to read. Now, people used to do that in the past. Even now, JavaScript has obfuscators because JavaScript you can just download on on websites.
That's true.
So even that I don't care, right? So the questing side only cares about program correctness and efficiency. So the program has to be correct and efficient. That's all, right? It doesn't matter. The only danger of doing bad formatting is that it will just come back to bite you in the back later. Yeah. So
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay.
does,
So
does
yeah,
that all make sense?
that does make sense. Yeah. All right. I will see. Hopefully, like it all is fine. Because yeah, my cat draws, my etot, the other one does the thing it's supposed to do, and this function does what it's supposed to do. I just was confused because I wasn't running. Like I just ran it, but I didn't like fully compile it before. So I was like, this is an error, but why is it an error? Okay.
I see. Well, it seems like you've understood it, but maybe you still have a few questions. One of the things you can do is maybe there's a lot more students struggling with this quest. Okay, maybe many of them have the same question as you. You can just summarize. You can in your own words. You can just summarize your doubt and the clarification and post it in the Reddit for to help other people. And if you have any follow-on questions too, right? So this is what I understood, but I'm still not clear 100% about this single thing, right? You can ask that in the post also, and I will answer in the post for everybody's benefit, or someone else will definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Bottom line is that you're not going to be fiddling around with doesn't gross or score anymore. You're just going to call. You already got the 3 values from argv. You're just going to call the function. That's all.
Okay. All right.
All
I think I got it, but I'll figure out how to post it on the Reddit or like ask for office hours again or at some point.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, and you can send me email if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, no worries. Bye.